This is really good. Shh. Quiet, please. Thank you for staying quiet, class. Hello, class. Welcome to this week's filming lesson. I might not be here at Lowe's College. I will be at Walt Disney World to go to Magic Kingdom to go to Frontierland, and then I'll stay at the Disney's Contemporary Resort the Incredibles Room Hotel. All right, let's get started, shall we? All right. So first, we will be doing home video releases. On today, we will be doing Bad News Bears 2005 film. Here's a plot in this film. Morris Buttermaker, Billy Bob Thornton, is a washed-up alcoholic baseball player who was a pitcher for the Seattle Mariners before getting kicked out of a professional baseballer for attacking an umpire. He works as an exterminator and is a crude womanizer. He is hired by Liz Whitewood to coach the Bears, a children's baseball team with poor playing skills. They play their first game and do not even make an out before he forfeits the game. The entire team decides to quit afterwards, but Buttermaker dissuades them from quitting and promises to be a better coach. Amanda Wurlitzer, Sammy Kane Kraft, a skilled pitcher, is a 12-year-old daughter of one of his ex-girlfriends. After a couple requests, she decides to join the team. Kelly Leak, a local troublemaker but solid hitter, also joins the team, and the Bears start winning games. Before the championship game, Liz congratulates Buttermaker for his success, which leads to them sleeping together. Which Toby, her son and a player on the team, discovers by accident. The Bears eventually make it to the championship game. In the middle of that game, the Bears and Yankees fight after Amanda is shoved during a play at the plate. A few innings later, the Yankees, coached by Ray Bullock, Greg Keener, orders his son, Joey, to unintentionally walk Mike Engelberg, one of the Bears' best hitters. Instead of walking him, he almost hits Engelberg, causing Ray to push Joey to the ground in anger. As revenge, Joey throws Engelberg an easy pitch, which he smacks for a home run and leaves the game with his mother. Later, Buttermaker changes the lineup, putting the bench warmers in and taking out some of the good players, which causes the Bears to fall behind heading into the last half of the inning. With 2 outs, one of the Bears players, Garrow, drives in 2 runs and tries to score to tie the game, but is thrown out at the plate on a close call, causing the Bears to lose the championship 8.7. After the game, Buttermaker gives them non-alcoholic beer, and they spray it all over each other. Although they did not win the championship, they have the satisfaction of trying, knowing the winning is not so important. All right. On tomorrow, we will be doing Barnyard 2006 film. Here's a plot to this film. Otis is a mischievous, fun-loving, and carefree Holstein cow who lives on a local farm and prefers having fun with his best friends, Pip, Freddie, Peck, and Pig, rather than following strict rules and accepting responsibility, much to the chagrin and annoyance of his stern and uptight adopted father and leader of the farm's community, Ben. After Otis interrupts a routine morning roll call and meeting with his usual antics, Ben warns Otis that he will never be happy if he continues without acting more responsible and mature. But he deliberately ignores his father's advice and leaves to do so anyway. That same day, Otis meets a pregnant cow named Daisy, who was moved to the farm with her friend Bessie. That night, after the farmer goes to bed, the animals throw a wild party in the barn that everyone attends, except Ben, who decides to guard the fence line. Otis is assigned a shift along with Ben, but Otis cleverly talks himself out of that work. Before he leaves, Ben tells him that the night he found him as a calf, stumbling alone in the meadow. He swore he saw the stars dance, which reminded him that his place was at the farm. Soon after, Ben takes on a pack of evil coyotes who raid the farm's co-op and manages to fight off the pack until he is bitten on the leg by their leader Dag, thus making him fall. The coyotes pile on Ben, who manages to grab Dag's leg to escape the pile. Using Dag to overpower his followers, he then threatens to punch Dag but lets him go, scaring him and the coyotes away in defeat. Ben then falls to the ground, exhausted and fatally injured. Otis is alerted and he runs outside to his father, who soon dies from his injuries. Early the next morning, Ben's body is buried on the farm's hillside by the farmer, and the other animals mourn him once the farmer leaves except for Otis, who is most saddened by the loss of his father and sits at his post. Following Ben's death, the farm's community elects Otis as their new leader. Otis chooses to irresponsibly shirk his duties by leaving Freddie and Peck in charge of the co-op. Then, with the help of the troublemaking Jersey cows, teaches a lesson to the mean and overnight youngster nicknamed Snotty Boy for his cow tipping, eluding the authorities. Afterwards, later that night, Otis shares a romantic moment with Daisy where she reveals that her husband and the rest of her herd had drowned during the flood, leaving her then Bessie as the only surviving members of the herd. Otis confronts her, but witnesses the coyotes chasing a rabbit, and he leaves her to take them on the avenge his father's murder, but is outnumbered, taking advantage of Otis' lack of strength. Dag proposes a deal. He and his pack will take some of the farm's animals at random times, and if Otis tries to do anything about it, they will openly kill them all. Realizing his chances for victory are slim, Otis ultimately decides to leave the farm. The next morning, before leaving, Otis is informed that the coyotes have kidnapped the hens, including Maddie, the daughter of one of them who looks up to him. Otis realizes that Dag double-crossed him, knowing that he was not expecting him and the coyotes until nightfall, and sets off to rescue the hens. Otis arrives at the coyotes' junkyard home to fight them off and manages to gain the upper hand until Dag bites his leg. However, Pip, Pig, Freddie, Peck, Ben's old friend Miles, a colony of gophers who live near the farm and are close friends with Otis and the Jersey cows, arrive to help him. Dag tries to attack Otis from behind, but he is alerted when Peck successfully manages to crow a warning. Otis thwarts Dag's attack and threatens to punch him like Ben did, but warns him to never return to the farm before sending him flying out of the junkyard, finally avenging his father. On their way home, Pip reveals that to Otis that Daisy went into labor after he left. The group then steals a biker gang's motorcycles from a diner and make it back in time to witness Daisy giving birth to a calf that she names Lil Ben. Otis then takes full responsibility and becomes the new leader of the farm community. As he watches the stars of himself, Daisy and Lil Ben dancing just like Ben said. Alright. On Wednesday, We will be doing Clock Stoppers, 2002 film. Here's a plot in this film. The NSA-funded Quantum Tech (QT) Corporation has slated a project to develop hypertime, a technology which allows the user's molecules to speed up to the point where the world appears in standstill. The NSA had more, and it's the project due to the risk of the technology being acquired by hostile powers. QT CEO Henry Gates plans on using hypertime to dominate the world, but these plans are not falling apart. The NSA has given him only a weekend before they collect his equipment. His lead scientist, Earl Doppler, cannot fix a glitch which causes subjects in hypertime to age rapidly, and after his henchmen prevent Doppler's incognito departure at the airport, Doppler informs Gates that he would send information on hypertime and a prototype hypertime wristwatch to his former teacher, Dr. George Gibbs, in hopes he could find a fix for the glitch. Gibbs' daughter, Kelly, accidentally knocks the watch into a box of his son Zach's things. George is away at the convention on applied science, having turned down Zach's appeals to go car shopping with him. Zach repeatedly bombs out the Francisca, the hot new girl at school, first with a condescending offer to show her around, and then, after she allows him to help her rake leaves by bringing a live opossum into her house. However, she is impressed when he shows her the power of the watch which they use to pull pranks around the town and help Zach's friend Meeker win a battle of the DJ's contest. At the end of the date, she gives Zach a goodnight kiss. Gates sends henchmen armed with hypertime watches and solid nitrogen guns for putting other hypertime users back into normal time to George's house to recover the prototype. Zach flees from them and discovers Doppler tied up in their van. He frees Doppler. A chase ensues, with Zach crashing the van into a river, thus disabling the watch. Zach awakens in the hospital and is charged with stealing the van. He gets the watch working just long enough to steal a policeman's uniform, allowing him to evade both the police and Gates' henchmen. QT Corporation contacts national security agencies and portrays Zach, George, and Doppler as fugitives. Zach goes on the run with Francisca, locating the hotel that George is staying at. QT reaches George first and kidnaps him to replace Doppler. Doppler captures Zach and Francisca with a garbage truck. Francisca knocks Doppler out and she and Zach interrogate Doppler. Doppler reluctantly agrees to help save George. Using components, the three of them steal from the science convention. Doppler mends the broken watch and builds their own set of nitrogen guns. Zach and Francisca break in. After activating hypertime, Zach swaps the non-functional watch onto his wrist. As a backup plan, QT captures Zach and Francisca, confiscates the non-functional watch, and throws them in a cell with George. The NSA deadline expires, so Gates puts the whole facility into hypertime to stop the approaching NSA agents. Using his concealed watch while in hypertime causes Zach's particles to accelerate to the point of instability, allowing him to pass through the walls of their cell and divert Gates and his henchmen long enough for George to rig a bomb which destroys a machine generating hypertime. Gates tries to kill Francisca, Zach, and George, but Doppler arrives and shoots Gates with nitrogen. The NSA agents take the watches to keep them safe and arrest Gates and his henchmen. Doppler uses the machine he was building to reverse the aging effects of hypertime but it inadvertently changes him back into a teenager, meaning he will have to live with the Gibbs family for a few years. George lets Zach get the car he wanted. As Zach speeds off in his car with Kelly, Francisca, and Doppler, it is revealed that he has not returned to the watch and continues to have fun in Hopper time. Alright, on Thursday, we will be doing Surf's Up. 2007 film. Here's a plot to this film. In a mockumentary, 17-year-old Cody Maverick is a young northern rockhopper penguin who lives in Silverpool, Antarctica, with his mother Edna and his older brother Glenn, and has yearned to be a professional surfer ever since meeting the famous surfer Big Zed many years ago. So when the talent scout Shorebird named Mike Abramowitz arrives to find entrance to the Big Zed memorial surfing contest in Pengu Island. Cody jumps at the chance, and en route to the contest, Cody befriends another entrant, Chicken Joe, a nice but dim-witted rooster surfer from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. The entrants arrive at Pengu Island, where Cody meets and immediately falls in love with Lenny Alikai, a female gentle penguin who is a lifeguard. He also meets the contest's arrogant champion, Tank the Shredder Evans, who has won the Big Zed Memorial Line 9 times since it was first held after Zed's supposed death during the previous match 10 years ago. Cody sees Tank throwing rocks at Big Zed's memorial and immediately challenges him to a surfing duel. Tank wins the duel while Cody nearly drowns and is stung by a sea urchin named Ivan. Lenny rescues him and takes him to her uncle, Geek, to help Cody recover from his injuries. Cody wakes up but cannot find the souvenir necklace given to him as a child by Big Zed. Geek then finds in it his nut hut. While returning to the necklace, Geek finds Cody sitting on a co-op log and offers to help him make a surfboard. They attempt to take the log back to Geek's house, only to lose control of it and end up on the beach far away from the house. When Cody gets to the beach, he discovers a shack full of old trophies and surfboards, which used to belong to Big Zed. After observing Geek walking sadly into the shack, he realizes that Geek is actually Big Zed and asks him to teach him how to surf. Zed reluctantly agrees, but tells Cody how he has to make his own board first. The attempt does not go well. However, as an impatient Cody refuses to listen to Zed's advice and crafts a weak and unstable board that shatters upon hitting the water. Angry, Cody storms off and runs into Lenny, who, after convincing him to land surf through the volcanic caverns, persuades Cody to return. Cody does, and spends the night working patiently on a new board. Zed compliments Cody on his new board, and Cody is eager to start training. Zed instead has him perform manual and absurd tasks seemingly unrelated to surfing, and takes pleasure on Cody's frustration. Finally, when Cody starts having fun by also pulling pranks on Zed, the ex-surfer teaches him how to surf the waves. However, afterwards, Cody asks Zed if he will come watch the contest, but Zed refuses, revealing that he faked his death because he realized he couldn't compete with his then new rival Tank, and that he had become too focused on winning, not impressed by Zed, gave up. Cody throws the necklace Zed gave him into the sea, meets up with Joe, who has befriended a tribe of flesh-eating penguins, and gets back to the contest just as it begins. Tank makes it to the finals, and as do Cody and Joe in the semifinals. Tank battles with Cody, but Tank trying to throw him off his board, but Tank falls off his own board and loses during the finals. However, Tank appears and tries to knock Joe off his board. Cody intervenes and at the last minute, sending himself and Tank into an area of the beach known as the Boneyards, which consists of dangerously sharp rock outcroppings and has killed many surfers who have ventured there. Tank punches Cody off his board before crashing and is rescued by Lenny Zed, who had secretly been watching Cody's performance, rescues Cody from a gigantic wave and helps him get back to the beach safely. Zed and Cody find out that Joe won the by default since Tank and Cody were disqualified. However, Cody accepts the loss, having realized that his true enjoyment lies in the art of surfing itself, not competitions as he had always thought. Zed reveals himself to the spectators and invites all of them to surf at his beach, where he then proceeds to join Cody in tube riding. Cody finishes his interview with the documentary crew, giving a reflection of the past events, and then joins the rest of his friends in the water. Finally, content in the mid-credit scene, Cody's mother chastises Glenn for not pursuing a dream as Cody did, much to the latter's chagrin. Alright, on Friday, we will be doing Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin, 1997 film. Here's the plot to this film. Once upon the last day of the golden summer, Christopher Robin attempts to tell his friend Winnie the Pooh some sad news, but Pooh is uninterested and continuously changes the subject until Christopher Robin forgets about it. After spending the day playing, Christopher Robin relieves Pooh with a quote, "You're braver than you believe, you're stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." But this drowsy Pooh does not understand the sentiment. Autumn arrives in the next morning, and Pooh awakes to find a plot of honey at his doorstep, failing to notice a note attached to it. After eating the contents and staining the note in honey, Pooh searches for Christopher Robin to ask about the honey pot, but discovers that he is missing. Pooh's friends, Piglet, Tigger, Rabbit, and Eeyore, have not seen Christopher Robin either, and cannot decipher the note attached to the pot, so they go to Owl for advice. Although he is able to remove some of the honey from the note, Owl misinterprets it as a request for help from Christopher Robin, further mispronouncing the word school as skull. He deduces that Christopher Robin has been taken to a distant and dangerous place called Skull, a cave where the monstrous Gullosaurus resides. Owl equips the group with a map and sends them into the great unknown of the 100-acre wood. Throughout their journey through the great unknown, the group hears strange noises behind them, which they assume is a Gullosaurus. The group slowly begins to realize just how helpless they are without Christopher Robin in the outside world. Piglet, Tigger, and Rabbit come to believe they do not have the courage, strength, or intelligence, respectively, to go on. Piglet is abducted by a swarm of playful butterflies in the tranquil field, leaving him feeling terrified and useless. Tigger falls into a deep gorge and is unable to bounce out to safety, eventually causing the others to dive in with him, and Rabbit continuously makes bad leadership decisions, following Owl's inaccurate map. Pooh tries to comfort each other, with the advice Christopher Robin had given him, but fails due to his inability to remember exactly what he said. Then when Rabbit finally breaks down and admits he has no idea where they are going, the group comes to terms with their failure and sulk in the nearby cave. While everyone is asleep, Pooh privately laments on the pain that he experiences from losing Christopher Robin. The next morning, the five friends realize that they had spent the night in the Skull Cave. The group enters and splits up to find Christopher Robin. When Rabbit, Tigger, Piglet, and Eeyore eventually reunite, they are scared away by Pooh's distorted reflection as he walks towards from behind a crystal wall, mistaking him for the Skullosaurus. As Pooh winds up stuck in a small crevice, his friends believe that he has been eaten. They discover the Eye of Skull, where Christopher Robin is supposedly trapped, and overcome their fears and doubts to reach it. Observing his friends' teamwork, Pooh excitedly frees himself from the tight gap, only to slip down a long descent and fall into a deep pit that he is unable to escape. While there, he realizes that Christopher Robin is still with him in his heart, even when they are not together, just as Christopher Robin has promised. As Piglet, Rabbit, Tigger, and Eeyore enter an eye, they are found by Christopher Robin, who has been searching for them as well. He clears up Owl's misunderstanding of the note, explaining that he wanted Pooh to help himself to the honey pot he gave him, and that he was already at school, which is what Christopher Robin tried to tell Pooh earlier. The roars of the Skullosaurus they have been plagued by were actually the noises of Pooh's stomach growling, indicating that the monster wasn't real. After Christopher Robin rescues Pooh from the pit, the group exits the cave, only to discover that from the outside, it and the other places they have crossed are not nearly as big and scary as they seemed when Christopher Robin was not with them. Their frightening appearances they were all just illusions. That evening, after the group returns home, Christopher Robin says he will be returning to school the next day, but Pooh declares that he will always be waiting for him, and the two happily watch the sunset, knowing they will always have each other in the sanctuary of the 100-Acre Wood. Alright. Also on Friday, we will redeem Bambi 1942 film. Here's a plot to this film. A doe gives birth to a fawn named Bambi, who will one day take over the position of the great prince of the forest. A title currently held by Bambi's father, who guards the woodland creatures against the dangers of hunters. The fawn is quickly befriended by an eager, energetic rabbit named Thumper, who helps to teach him to walk and speak. Bambi grows up very attached to his mother, while with whom he spends most of his time. He soon makes other friends, including a young skunk named Flower and a female fawn named Feline. Curious and inquisitive, Bambi frequently asks about the world around him and is cautioned about the dangers of life as a forest creature by his loving mother. One day, out in meadow, Bambi briefly sees the great prince, but does not realize that he is his father. As the great prince wanders uphill, he discovers a human hunter named Man by all the animals is coming and rushes down to the meadow to get everyone to safety. Bambi is briefly separated from his mother during that time, but is escorted to her by the great prince as the three of them make it back in the forest just as Man fires his gun. During Bambi's first winter, he and Thumper play in the snow and while Flower hibernates. One day his mother takes him along to find food. When Man shows up again, as they escape, his mother is shot and killed by the hunter, leaving the little fawn mournful and alone. Taking pity on his abandoned son, the great prince leads Bambi home as he reveals to him that he is his father. Next year, Bambi has matured into a young stag, and his childhood friends have also entered young adulthood. They are warned of turpitude by Friend Owl and that they will eventually fall in love. Although the trio views the concept of romance with scorn, however, Thumper and Flower soon encounter their beautiful romantic counterparts and abandoned for their former thoughts of love. Bambi himself encounters Feline as a beautiful doe. However, their courtship is quickly interrupted and challenged by a belligerent older stag named Rono, who attempts to force Feline away from Bambi. Bambi successfully manages to defeat Rono in battle and earn the rights to the doe's affections. Bambi is awakened afterwards by the smell of smoke. He follows it and discovers it leads to a hunter camp. His father warns Bambi that man has returned with more hunters. Although Bambi is separated from Feline in the turmoil and searches for her along the way, the two flee to safety. He soon finds cornered by men's vicious hunting dogs, which he manages to ward off. Bambi escapes them and is shot by men, but survives. Meanwhile, at the men's camp, their campfire suddenly spreads into a forest, resulting in a wildfire, from which the forest residents flee in fear. Bambi, his father, Feline, and the forest animals manage to reach shelter on the riverbank. The following spring, Feline gives birth to twins under Bambi's watchful eye as the new great prince of the forest. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing The Mighty Ducks. 1992 film. Here's the plot to this film. Gordon Bombay, Emilio Estevez, is an arrogant but successful Minneapolis defense attorney. After his 30th successful case, he celebrates by going out drinking, but is arrested for drunk driving and sentenced to 500 hours of community service by coaching the local District 5 Pee Wee hockey team. Bombay has an unpleasant history with the sport. As a youth and in 1973, he was the Hawks' star player, but struggling with the loss of his father, he missed a penalty shot at the end of the championship game, which would have won the game for the Hawks, disappointing his hyper-competitive coach, Jack Raley, Lane Smith. The Hawks went on to lose in overtime, becoming one of their only championship defeats. Bombay meets the District 5 team and realizes the children have no practice facility, equipment, or ability. Their first game with Bombay at the helm is against the Hawks. Riley is still the Hawks' head coach and, despite a nearly broken championship streak, remains bitter about Gordon's missed penalty shot. District 5 is soundly defeated as Riley demands the Hawks run up the score. Bombay berates the team for not listening to him, and the players challenge the authority for the next match. Bombay tries to teach his team how to dive and draw penalties, which results in another loss. This time to the Jets, angering the team further, specifically one player, Charlie Conway, Joshua Jackson, who refused to fake an injury like Bombay instructed him to. Bombay visits his old mentor Hans, Joss Ackland, who owns a nearby sporting goods store and was in attendance at the game against the Hawks. While there, Bombay recalls that he quit playing hockey after losing his father 4 months before the championship game, and because Raley blamed him for the loss due to the missed penalty shot. Hans encourages him to rekindle his childhood passion for the sport by skating in a frozen pond like he did when he was a kid. Realizing the error of his ways, he apologizes to Charlie and his mother at their home. Bombay approaches his boss, Gerald Ducksworth, Joseph Sommer, to sponsor the team, allowing them to purchase professional-grade equipment as opposed to the makeshift equipment they had, and give Bombay time to teach the players the fundamentals. They recruit their 3 new players, figure skating siblings Tommy, Danny Tamborelli, and Tammy Duncan, Jane Plank, and slapshot specialist enforcer Fulton Breed, Eldon Henson, and potential of Charlie catches Bombay's eye. He takes Charlie, under his wing and teaches him some of the tactics he used playing with the Hawks, renamed the Ducks after Ducksworth. The team plays its next game against the Cardinals to a tie. Bombay learns that, due to restricting the Hawks, a star player, Adam Banks, Vincent LaRusso, lives in District 5 and should be playing for the Ducks, and threatens Rayleigh into transferring Banks to the Ducks. After overhearing an out-of-context quote about the team, most of the players walk out, except Charlie and Fulton, who form a strong real friendship, resulting in the loss of forfeit to the Flames. The Ducks will lose faith on Bombay, and with the exception, Charlie and Fulton revert to their old habits. Ducksworth makes a deal with Rayleigh for the Hawks to keep Banks, which Bombay, although initially tempted, refuses on the principles of fair play, which Ducksworth berated him about when he started his community service, led with the choice of letting his team down or being fired from his job. He takes the latter. Bombay manages to regain his players' trust after they win a crucial match against the Huskies in order to qualify for the playoffs, and Banks, who decided to play with the Ducks rather than not play hockey at all, proves to be an asset. Though Jesse doesn't trust him, the Ducks march through the playoffs with wins against the Hornets and the Cardinals, reaching the championship game against the Hawks. Riley orders his team to injure Banks to force him out of the game. In spite of this, the Ducks manage to tie late in the final period, and Charlie is tripped by a Hawks player as time expires. In precisely the same situation Bombay faced in his youth, Charlie prepares for a game-deciding penalty shot, in stark contrast to Riley, who told Bombay that if he missed, he was letting everyone down. Bombay tells Charlie to take his best shot and that he will believe in him no matter what. Inspired, Charlie fakes out the goalie with the triple decade. Bombay taught him and scores, winning the state championship. The Ducks players and their families race onto the ice in jubilation, where Bombay thanks Hans for his belief in him, and Hans tells Bombay he is proud of him. As Gordon is handed and raises the championship trophy, the team all rally around him and chant Ducks repeatedly in a triumphant unison. Soon, some days later, Bombay boards a bus to a minor league tryout, secured for him by the NHL's Vessel McRae of the Minnesota North Stars, who played the Pee-wee hockey with him as a youth. Although daunted at the prospect of going up against younger players, he receives the same words of encouragement and advice from the Ducks he had given them, promising to return next season to defend their title. Alright, also on Friday, we will be doing In the Heights. Tessa 21 film. Here's a plot in this film. Wasnabi de la Vega tells 4 children the story of Washington Heights. 10 years earlier, Wasnabi is an owner of the bodega in the neighborhood. After chasing off Graffiti Pete, a street artist who was attempting to spray paint on the bodega's security shutters, he introduces Obelia Claudia, the neighborhood matriarch, a woman who raised him after the death of his parents. Kevin Rosario, who runs a taxi company. Kevin's employee and Usnavi's best friend Benny, the beauty salon ladies Danelia, Krala and Kuka, his cousin Sonny, a teenager who works in a bodega, and Vanessa, who Usnavi as a unrequited crush in the Heights. Alejandro, an attorney and family friend, informs Usnavi his late father's business in the Dominican Republic, which he dreams of reviving, is for sale. Meanwhile, Kevin's daughter, Nina, returns from Stanford University after seeing Benny's dispatch. She finds her father, telling him she cannot pay tuition, but he brushes her off, telling her not to worry. Read. Danielius Selland is moving to the Bronx due to rising the rents in Manhattan. Nina arrives for a treatment and reconnects with the ladies, but eventually reveals she has dropped out of Stanford and leaves Nobedica. Vanessa submits a rental application downtown where she dreams of becoming a fashion designer, but her application is rejected. It won't be long now. She heads to Yasnavi's bodega, where Sony asks her out for him. Sony learns a lottery ticket that bodega sold one for $96,000. At the public pool, everybody in the neighborhood fantasizes about what they would do with the money. 96,000, while the neighborhood Paraguayo laments how he has lost business to a Mr. Softy Truck Paragua. That weekend, Benny and Nina reminisce about their childhoods. She expresses her doubts and fears, but he reassures her she is destined for greatness when you're home. Meanwhile, Asnavi talks to Sony's father about letting Sony come with him to the Dominican Republic, but Sony's father implies he and Sony are undocumented immigrants and cannot leave. That evening, Kevin reveals he sold his business to pay for Nina's tuition. Outraged, she refuses the money, revealing the real reason she dropped out was the racism she experienced, and storms out Asnavi and Vanessa head to the salsa club for their date. At the club, Asnavi is nervous and aloof, and he declines to dance with Vanessa. A man steals her away for a dance, allowing multiple men to dance with her. In return, Asnavi tries to make Vanessa jealous by dancing with another woman. The party goes out, and Sonny and Graffiti Pete light up fireworks, illuminating the neighborhood. Vanessa and Asnavi argue, and she rejects him. Blackout. Lying in bed, Abiela reminisces about her childhood in Cuba and how she came to New York, enduring hardships to be where she is today. Paciencia y fe. She dies peacefully, and the neighborhood comes together to mourn and sing her praises. Alabenza at a protest for DACA. Sonny learns that he cannot go to college, and as he is not an undocumented immigrant. Learning this, Nina resolves to go back to Stanford to find a way for undocumented immigrant children to find the pathway in life. Asnavi finds Vanessa's rental application in the trash. He visits Daniela, asking her to co-sign on Vanessa's application. Disappointed with the blocks of negativity over the power outage and Abuela's death, Daniela roses the neighborhood into a celebration, Carnaval del Barrio. As the power outage ends, Vanessa and Asnavi reconcile. A month later, Nina is about to return to Stanford. Benny promises to find a way to join her in Palo Alto, and they kiss. When the sun goes down, as Asnavi prepares to leave for the Dominican Republic, he discovers that Bobiela held the winning lottery ticket and has left it to him. Vanessa arrives in the Champagne after he found out that Asnavi had not got Daniela and to co-sign for her on her lease. She suggests Asnavi stay, but he refuses. She kisses him, lamenting that she was not too late in realizing her feelings before leaving Champagne. Asnavi gives Alejandro the lottery ticket, telling him to use it for Sony's DACA fees. The next morning, Vanessa takes Asnavi to a bodega and shows him a fashion line she created the previous night, inspired by Graffiti Pete's work. Seeing Pete's murals celebrating Obelia, Asnavi decides to stay. The story returns to the present day, where it is revealed that the Snavi is telling his story in the remodeled bodega, and that one of the children is Snavi's and Vanessa's daughter, Iris. Everyone sings and dances in the street, while Snavi expresses his elation at being in Washington Heights, where he has always belonged. Finale. In a post-credit scene, the Mr. Softy truck breaks down in the Paraguayero, celebrates his victory by raising prices by a dollar, that gives the ice cream man a free cup of shaved ice. Paraguay, reprise. Alright, that's all the whole releases we got. So second, we will be doing TV series over home releases. It is about Nekiasu, alone in the sea. Episode 4. Because we're friends. Miona and her friend Seiyu ask Hikari to come up with a plan to split up Hikari and Muina's father, Itaru. Hikari declines, claiming that he despises underhanded schemes in home economics class. Manaka decides to have some of her classmates taste the dish she made with her friends and attempt to befriend them, but they shove her away, dropping it on the ground, and cause a commotion in class. The boys reluctantly apologize, only after being urged to by Sumugu. Shortly after, Hikari and Manaka discover that someone has vandalized the Ojoshi, and Hikari assumes the same boys are the culprits. He accuses them of the chests one of the boys as retaliation. Later, Sayu admits to Miuna and that she was the one who vandalizes the Ojoshi, which Chisaki and Kaname discovered while cleaning up. But remembering Hikari's words, Miuna reprimands her friend for doing so. While returning home, Hikari and Manaka rescue Itaru from drowning after he borrowed some diving gear to see Akari at the village. Meanwhile, Akari reveals to Uroko-sama that she was friends with Miona and her family, and after Miona's mother died, she decides to take care of her and her father in her place, but with Miona's rejection, she decided to give up on it. After Miona falsely claims that she was the one who destroyed the offering, Hikari makes amends for the boys that he wrongly accused with Manaka's help, while Kaname makes Seiyu confesses the truth to Hikari. This makes Chisaki sad as once again Manaka helps Hikari while she could do nothing for him. Alright, that's all the TV series over home releases we got. So third, we will be doing Emma Monkey Pictures and Roman Cow Productions as Donkey D's Company shorts. It is about SpongeBob SquarePants Season 1. Episode 2A. Bubble Stand. One day, SpongeBob builds and then opens a stand for blowing bubbles, charging 25 cents per bubble. Much to Squidward's dismay, Patrick comes to the stand and asks to try it out, but fails miserably. SpongeBob offers to teach him and show. Yes? Okay, never mind, class. He was just not calling me. Okay, and shows off his particular bubble blowing technique that allows the user to blow bubbles into various shapes and sizes. Squidward attempts to impress by blowing a bubble without SpongeBob's method, but fails. Eventually, he blows an enormous bubble by utilizing all of the techniques SpongeBob had taught Patrick, and screaming at a bubble wand in anger. SpongeBob and Patrick congratulate Squidward, who thanks them and walks back into his house. However, a gigantic bubble engulfs Squidward's house, unearthing it and sending it up in the air. Alright, that's all the shorts we got. So far, we will be doing Samsung Galaxy S22 series. It is about Mei, who befriends a second best friend who is claimed to be a blob full of reptilian creatures into humans. She goes to Sugar Mama's bacon shop and introduced on to Canada, and second best friend finds a donut that she offering for her, and then and then after she gets home, she realizes that her second best friend is gone. She looks for her and found out that she was eating her own donuts. All right, that's all I got for today. Let's do some work now. Hey, Makoto. Hi. I did really good at classing today. Good. Teaching class today, I'm sorry. It's okay. Anyway, yeah, let's go to Magic Kingdom, okay? Okay, let's go. Okay, good.